Hey everyone, Director Doug here, and today we're on our best behavior because we have law enforcement in the studio here with us. Today we have Jason Levy, the man behind the voice of Officer Lewis. We're going to get to know him a little bit better as Steve and Jean talk with him and find out what makes him tick when he's not Officer Lewis on Discovery Mountain. Go ahead, guys.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Director Doug. So, getting on with the questions. Jason, what is your regular job?
I'm actually a pastor. I've been pastoring now for about 16 years. And right now, I am not too far from Director Doug's house. My church is the Kendallwood Seventh-day Adventist Church in Whitby, Ontario.
Okay,
and
nice.
It's been a blessing.
So 15 years, that's wonderful. That's a good ways into your calling, and you feel like you kind of have yourself settled in your role, although ministry is all about kind of being unsettled, isn't it? Having your faith tested. Actually, yeah. Yeah. Well, you play, of course, Officer Lewis, and your character has been around basically from the beginning of Discovery Mountain, so our listeners know you pretty well. In what ways are you similar to your character, and in what ways are you opposite to him?
Well, Officer Lewis has a way of pivoting from, being a little jovial sometimes to super intense. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I tend to do like a lot, especially with my family. Like we would be joking around 1 minute and then something pops up and all of a sudden, it's time to go. It's time to work. It's time to get this done. So I find that, we're similar in that regard.
That's neat.
Do you find that sometimes when, and this is not on the question list, but do you sometimes find when Jean writes your character that you feel like she somehow has this inside window into your personality?
Apparently, yes. Yeah, it's I relate to him really well, and that's it makes the character itself and the depicting the character a lot easier.
Oh, that's awesome! I love it when that happens.
Yeah, the God just lined everything up.
Absolutely,
oh, yeah. Yes.
Absolutely, it's a God thing.
I've noticed that he does that a lot with characters because we were recording with Deputy Bo a couple days ago, and he says, "Oh my goodness, this is me."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's neat. Yeah, that's Officer Lewis's sidekick there in Discovery Mountain. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the what's written on the paper here. What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is, and this may sound a bit weird, but it's actually tofu. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's my favorite food is because you can make it taste like anything.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, depend on, if I feel like sweet and sour one day or, I feel like, hot and spicy the next. I can make it what I want.
Mm-hmm. And are you the cook in your family? Do you like to cook?
I'm not actually.
Okay.
But I like to experiment.
Okay. Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
It's always fun. So as a pastor and someone who, I know you spend a lot of time not only in the Word and studying for your work, but, part of ministry, of course, is your personal relationship with God. So this is going to be a tough question probably, but do you have a favorite Bible verse?
I actually do.
Okay.
I do. Ever since I've been in college, since I was in college, there was this passage that really, helped me. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. Mm-hmm. And it's motivated me tremendously in terms of what it says. It says, whether therefore you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God, which I feel helps me. There's not an area of my life that is, outside of honoring him. So it just, it's just a way of kind of covering and letting me know that, whatever I do. Another one is like, whatever you set your hands to do it with all your might. But it kind of speaks to that idea of, whatever it is that you do in life, it's in some way or form honoring God.
Mm-hmm. I think that speaks to a life of faith. That's what we're always encouraging our listeners here in Discovery Mountain to do, is exercise their faith.
Mhm.
And yeah, when you look at this verse, all that you do is to the glory of God. So even those little things, those routine things you do every day, maybe the kids who are students in school, or us adults as we're parenting our kids, there's lots of things that seem insignificant, but everything that we do is part of our faith journey. None of it's separate from our walk with God.
That is so true. That is so true. In fact, something that I would usually say to my church members
Mm-hmm.
is I consider faith like a sixth sense. It transcends the other five senses, and it allows you to connect to God. And, the Bible has so much content specifically surrounding faith, but you're right, it's all encompassing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Good question. Good question. At first, I wanted to be a firefighter. Then as I neared the end of high school, for whatever reason, I was fascinated with history. And so I said, you know what? I want to be a history professor.
Not bad.
Then, God had other plans, obviously, but those were the two things that I wanted to be growing up.
Well, you kind of got to be a history professor.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's not so far removed from
not.
what you're doing as a pastor, for sure. Bringing the story, God's story, to life, the best history. There you go.
Amen.
Yeah. So we haven't asked you about your family. I know you're married, so I want to ask you next if you have pets, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about your family too, your family and your pets.
Yes. So my wife Margot, we've actually we're going on 15 years of marriage now too. So around the time that I started pastoral ministry is a time when we got married, and we have she's a wonderful, wonderful soul. Just provides like clarity and direction to my ministry. She oftentimes, I have a soundboard to bounce ideas off of, and at the same time, someone to call me out when I need a course correct.
That's a good pastor's wife. I like that.
Yes, she does not hesitate. Yeah, she's actually in education. She's a vice principal of a school here close by in Oshawa here.
Okay. Awesome.
And I have two children, Kaylon and Isabel. Kaylon is 12 and Isabel is 7.
Oh, nice.
And they're wonderful kids, creative children, and also full of energy. Kaylon being 12, I'm around maybe I think 5'10" and my son's almost my height.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And he's only 12.
Oh, wow.
So he's looking me in my face a lot. But he's a gentle one as well. Isabel, she I guess tries to be gentle, but she's just, so full of energy. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
That's cool. So,
and do you guys have any pets in the family too?
we do.
Okay.
We do. We have a cat. We had a cat before that unfortunately passed. I think last year. For about 8 years, and his name was Casper. And shortly after his passing, we actually got another cat. His name was Milo, and we have a dog. Now the dog is a cross between a toy poodle and Bichon.
Oh,
And
cute.
she is tiny.
Oh.
She's already maybe 9 months, and she's only about maybe 2.5 pounds.
Oh,
wow.
She's really tiny.
She is, yeah, she's really, she can fit in one hand. The cat now she's a Siamese, and he's a bit larger, like he's about maybe 10 pounds or so. But even though he's a bigger cat, the dog bullies him. She's constantly, to compensate for that.
Yeah.
that size. She is loud, and she lets her presence be known. So, yeah, but they're fun pets.
Very sweet. Thank you for sharing.
So what do you like to do when you have free time?
Do
I like
pastors
to-
have free time?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
When I could carve some time out of the day, like you kind of have to pick and choose, when that moment arises. But I love to, I guess, read stuff on technology for whatever reason. Like I love tech.
Hmm.
Nice.
I love computers. I actually love. I've started to love since the pandemic, editing
Nice.
and just the whole, I guess the creative side behind it. And so I like to kind of watch videos on that, whether it be from YouTube or other sources, or just read some articles on it. Like I like that kind of, and it's that kind of a shift as well from, because I guess when you have free time, you want to do something a little different than what you normally do.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're there in Director Doug's studio right now. Careful what you say about your love of editing. He may just put you to work. I don't know.
Maybe he's provided a lot of advice because he is a person with a wealth of knowledge in that field.
Oh,
so.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Good friend to have.
Mhm.
All right. One last question for you. So, if Discovery Mountain were a real place and you could visit, what do you think? What do you think some of your first things to do would be?
I like the water. I like the water sometimes, and maybe a little lake where you could just on a nice spring afternoon maybe, and then go fishing and have some time. You can have some quiet time with God, and I'd love to see that. That's
Mhm.
one, because I always I grew up I actually was born in Jamaica, and so I was around I guess the coastline a bit, and so you'd be out there with on the beach, and that would be good to watch. But I like still water. I like when the water's not moving too much, just to calm me. So I really love to be present if it were a real place at that location.
Sit on the end of the dock and kind of take in the
Yeah.
water and the mountains behind it. That
Yeah.
would be very peaceful. I like that. I would like to do that too. Well, Pastor Levy, thank you so much for joining us here and sharing a little bit of who you are and letting our listeners finally get to know more about the voice behind Officer Lewis.
Yes, this was nice. This was nice, and I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this ministry. There are so many individuals when they find out, oh, you're Officer Lewis. I'm like, yeah, and they see the resemblance, especially those who know me.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun experience, and I'm just so happy that this ministry has continued to grow the way it has, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Oh, well, thank you. We really appreciate working with you always. Well, for those of you at home, I really hope that you have enjoyed this little trip behind the scenes, getting to know Pastor Jason Levy, the voice of Officer Lewis. And, Pastor Levy shared his favorite Bible verse with us, and it's a beautiful one. And I want to close today by sharing that with you again. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31. And it says, "Therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God." Your faith, that's a part of everything you do today, this week, and forever. And so take those words with you and have faith this week. Thanks for listening. See you next time.